What do you think of the idea of contemplative spirituality or contemplative prayer?
Yeah, and again, that depends exactly how we define contemplation. Of course, there is such a thing as meditation if it's done in a biblical fashion. I mean, yes, there are forms of meditation that are opposed to Scripture. But, for instance, I remember at times in my life I've taken the passage from Acts where Paul, speaking to the philosophers on Mars Hill, says to them, "In him we live and we move and we have our being." Now, God is, of course, present to all spaces at all times, even while he is not to be identified with the creation. But I know Psalm 139, I've never been out of God's immediate presence. Now, if you give yourself several hours to imagine some of the events in your own life, my own life, the experiences that I've had, the secret sins, the moments of triumph, the places where I've encountered Christ in a new way, and the times when I have walked without him, I actually was not out of his immediate presence. He was watching me at all points in time. He was guarding me. He was guiding me. And if I allow thoughts like that to flood my consciousness, simply one verse in Scripture, meditating on that and beginning to see how that applies to a number of areas of my life, I would say that's excellent meditation. Sometimes, however, I've noticed how people abuse Scripture in the middle of this. I know, for instance, one teacher has said, when Jesus in John 10 said, "My sheep know my voice," that means that whenever we think individual thoughts, whatever we think must have been the voice of Christ. So I always say, in that form of meditation, every idiotic thing that comes into my mind, at least so the teaching goes, must be the voice of God. Indeed, the only way that I know how to measure and weigh whether something comes from God is from the Bible. And the Bible itself tells me what God has objectively said, and therefore the only objective ground that I have to stand on is the actual teaching of the Word.